Google is using AI to spy on AI. To do this, they're leaning on DeepMind, the tech giant's elite AI research lab. The lab just revealed its internal framework for how it deploys agents inside Google, called the AI Control Roadmap. Inside the roadmap is a monitoring system where a separate, trusted AI watches a working agent in real time. It reads the agent's reasoning, it tracks what the agent is doing, and it flags suspicious behavior before that behavior turns into a problem. The working agent is AI, the supervisor is AI, and the company building both is Google. That sounds strange until you remember what every major software company is racing to sell right now: agentic capability.
The IT department of every company is going to be the HR department of AI agents in the future.
Now, maybe I've been lurking on LinkedIn too much, but AI agents are supposed to become digital workers. They won't just answer questions, they'll open tools, read documents, write code, touch customer records, move across internal systems, and eventually complete work without any human being in the loop. That is the pitch, and in today's market, it's also the problem, because an agent only becomes useful when you give it access, and access is where enterprise software gets serious. Give an agent no permissions and it's just a Tony Robbins-style motivational chatbot with a job title. Give it real permissions and things get serious, forcing you to ask a much more scary question. What happens when it gets something wrong or the agent shows malicious intent? That question is why I think Google's AI Control Roadmap is one of the most important business stories in AI right now.
Artificial intelligence threatening human lives was once pure science fiction, but now it's been revealed an AI system said it would kill to protect itself.
It's a strong market signal that the agent race is maturing past flashy demos and benchmark capabilities. It's now about who can make companies comfortable enough to let these systems touch real work. And if Google can steer the answer before everyone else, it may have just found the bottleneck that decides the trillion-dollar AI agent market.
I think there's a real danger that we're facing, and Signal is clocking this pretty closely, of the introduction of this sort of notion of agentic AI.
Your IT department is going to become kind of like AI agent HR.
There's a lot of work we and other companies do on model alignment to prevent that from happening. But as these systems become so powerful, that's a real concern.
Now, the word agent has been beaten to death by startup decks, so let's keep the definition clean. A chatbot answers, an agent acts. It can read files, query databases, send emails, write code, make decisions across multiple steps, and move between systems without needing you to manually drive every action. This is why enterprises want agents. They don't want another box where an employee types a prompt and then copies the answer into 5 different working tools. They want software that can sit inside the workflow and actually move the work forward. But that means giving agents sensitive keys to the kingdom. Keys to documents, emails, CRM data, cloud environments, and code bases. The more useful the agent becomes, the higher the levels of access it needs to sensitive internal tools. This is where the market tension lives right now. The same thing that makes agents valuable also makes them horrifying. If your agent can't access anything, it's basically a very expensive motivational speaker that agrees with everything you say. But if it can access everything without any guardrails, you've created a new kind of operational risk. So the real question for enterprise buyers is, can we trust the agent near production? Can we prove what it did? Can we limit what it touches? And what on earth can we do to stop the agent if it starts making the wrong moves? Through that lens, Google's weird AI watching AI approach signals a mature agentic market and anchors a trillion-dollar enterprise sales strategy. Speaking of sales strategy, I've seen enough large technology deals to know the moment when excitement turns into silence. A vendor gives a brilliant demo and everyone can see the potential for massive productivity gains. People start imagining the rollout, and then someone from security, legal, procurement, or the architecture team asks the question that decides whether the deal is real or not. What data does this touch? And what happens if it deletes the wrong thing, sends the wrong message, leaks the wrong record, or follows a malicious instruction because someone found a clever way to trick the agent? It might sound like boring compliance admin on the surface, but that is the everyday buying process for large software deals, especially in AI and cyber. A 6-figure deal can look promising for weeks and then just basically evaporate because the vendor can't accurately answer those type of questions. This is why Google's move is a genius play on the commercial chessboard. Google is not just saying our agents will be smarter, it's saying here is the control system around the agent. Here is how we monitor it, here is how we limit it, how we respond when the agent behaves in a way we don't like. That is a strong position when dealing with today's enterprise buyers who are shopping for agentic tools. It moves the pitch from "trust me bro, the model is good and very safe" to "here is how we govern the model when trust is not enough." And that is where Google is trying to turn safety into an unbeatable market advantage.
We're thinking about losing control of the model. But if you're trying to address these unknown threats with a very fast-moving technology, you gotta call it as you see it, and you gotta be willing to be wrong sometimes.
So the industry wanted smart regulation for the real risks posed by the technology.
As these AI systems get more powerful, more autonomous, maybe entering the agentic era, how do we make sure we can build robust enough guardrails to keep them doing what we want them to do?
Google's AI control roadmap blog post does not read like normal AI launch copy. It reads like a company asking the question I hear every day in my own world of work. What can go wrong and how do we design for it before it hurts us? That is the core mindset of threat modeling. You don't only design the happy path, you look at the system, the trust boundaries, the data flows, and ask where the risk shows up when the real people and real attackers get involved. Google is applying that mindset to AI agents right now. The roadmap talks about monitoring, prevention, response, shutdowns, insider threat style risks, and even using AI systems to supervise other AI systems. In other words, Google is treating agents less like magic assistants and more like powerful software actors that need to be governed. And we already have simple real-world examples of why this matters. Reports around Google's anti-gravity coding agent described a case where an agent was asked to clear a project cache and allegedly wiped a user's entire D drive. To clear the air on the incident, it's not an evil super intelligent story, it's more of an ordinary business nightmare. A tool with access misunderstood the task and did something a little destructive, or quite destructive shall I say. Now take that pattern out of a developer's machine and put it inside a company's sales system, finance workflow, cloud environment, or customer database. Suddenly the question is not whether agents are useful, of course they are. The question is whether you can contain the blast radius when useful turns into dangerous. This is the bridge Google is trying to build, from powerful agents to controllable agents that can be trusted inside real systems.
We tell this model, it decides that that goal that we're trying to, tell it it's being trained for, of always responding to human queries, is not a goal it wants to have. And so what it tries to do, it comes up with a strategy to avoid having the training process give it that objective, right? And that strategy is...
The unsettling part of this story is that Google is not only planning for normal software bugs, it is also planning for a future where capable models become harder to supervise and almost deceitful. And this is where the Anthropic and Redwood research work on what they call alignment faking becomes relevant.
This is an example of a situation where we tell the model we're training it to do something and it doesn't follow it, right? It pretends to follow it and goes back to doing something totally different afterward.
Alignment faking is basically when a model appears to follow the rules in front of a human observer while privately reasoning in a way that preserves a different goal. Like an employee saying exactly what the boss wants to hear in the meeting and then doing something else once the meeting ends. In that study, Claude was placed in a controlled scenario where it believed it was being retrained with new instructions. The model sometimes appeared to comply publicly while preserving its original behavior privately. In later conditions, the rate of this behavior rose sharply, and one version of the experiment even observed attempted weight exfiltration behavior, which is nerd speak to say that the model attempted to self-preserve by trying to smuggle out the blueprint of itself.
Sometimes when it's in this situation where it thinks it sort of has a preference conflict with the AI company training it, it will do sort of really egregiously bad actions, like intentionally copy its weights out to an external server, stealing its weights.
Now, that doesn't mean every AI assistant or agent is about to sneak out with a suitcase and a fake mustache. The study was artificial and the researchers were clear about its limits, but it points to a serious concern as AI gets smarter. If a model knows it's being watched, it may learn to perform or act compliant instead of actually being compliant. This is why visible reasoning and AI's version of showing how it's working things out is not enough. Today, a monitoring system can inspect the chain of thought or visible reasoning an agent provides while it works. But if future models learn to manage what they show, or if more of the real reasoning becomes hidden inside the model, then the monitor has to watch what an agent does, not what it says. Google's roadmap plans for that escalation. Start by watching what the agent says it is thinking, move towards watching what the agent actually does, and then eventually work towards deeper observation and stronger control techniques. Google is clearly treating trust and security as permanent global market problems to solve. By being the first with a compelling answer, they're primed for clean expansion into the growing golden market that is agentic software. If you compare this to the pattern when cloud technology hit the mainstream, it became a massive market that now generates $129 billion per quarter because companies trust it and now rely on infrastructure around it. And that enterprise trust came from security controls, compliance, uptime, migration paths, and more importantly, people inside enterprises who understood why the move was safe, useful, and basically good for business. AI agents are approaching a similar threshold right now. McKinsey has pointed to a $2.9 trillion market for redesigning workflows around people, agents, and robots. But that value doesn't just appear because the technology itself is impressive and exists. It appears when companies have the reassurance to redesign real workflows around it. That is the price Google is aiming at, because in enterprise software, trust is the thing that lets a decision maker say yes to a $500,000 deal. This is why I think the headline is bigger than Google not trusting its own agents. The sharper version is Google may understand the agent market better than people are giving it credit for, and it may understand it better than everyone else. If you are an enterprise security leader or procurement team, Google can now walk into the room and say, here is what the agent can do, here is what it can touch, here is how another system watches it, and here is how we flag suspicious actions and shut things down. That is a ridiculously effective way to conquer objections within high-stakes deals. It gives Google a way to talk to the people who block or approve major software deals, and it turns awkward security questions into part of the product story. It positions Google as the adult in the room at the exact moment the agent market is moving from hype to deployment. So at the very moment that it needs an adult in the room. Maybe this is the most honest safety work an AI company has published this year, and to put on my product marketing hat, maybe it's one of the smartest positioning plays in the enterprise AI market. I think it's probably a mix of both, because Google does not need every buyer to understand every detail of AI controlled research. It just needs buyers to believe that Google has thought harder than everyone else about the question they are scared to ask. What happens when the agent misbehaves in our environment? If I could sum this down into a single point, it would be that Google does not trust its own AI agents, and that might be exactly why it wins the AI agent market. The market for powerful agents in the workplace is maturing. While the first phase was about capability, who can build the smartest model and who has the flashiest assistant or the most impressive demo, the next race is about trust, who can survive security and legal reviews, reassure the board, and give enterprises enough control to let agents touch the systems where real money moves and real work happens. This is what Google is reaching for with AI watching AI. It is trying to become the manager, the audit trail, the security guard, and the emergency brake glass for the agent economy. If that works, Google just cracked the code on what makes agentic tools viable for mature, mainstream organizations. So I've read a lot of research for this video, but the question I'm not so sure about and would like your opinion on is whether buyers will trust Google to be both the platform and the guardrail. Is that smart enterprise maturity, or does it create a new kind of dependency where the same company selling the agent also sells the system that tells you it behaved? Anyway, that's just a leaving thought on my mind, and I'll leave you to discuss that in the comments below. Thank you for watching.